The AIDS boss, Louis Farrakhan, will appear on the Arsenio Hall show, and the controversy is already starting to swirl.
Arsenio Hall is insulting the community.
A small group of protesters demonstrated Hall outside of Paramount Studios today. They are angry about the scheduled appearance of Louis Farrakhan.
But look at what has happened. You brought me here to your show. And what happened, Arsenio? You incited so much rage, so much venom, so much hatred that now they don't want your show to show in the marketplace that it has shown. They've threatened you that they will take you off of the air and ruin your career. Farrakhan didn't do that. That's hate. That's bitterness. That's venom.
And they're angry that Arsenio Hall is now giving Farrakhan a national platform.
He's slapping the community in the face. He's slapping everybody who happens to be white in the face. And to say that Farrakhan is a racist is to put it mildly.
It's this kind of racism and hateism that we've got to stop. And I am just outraged. I mean, outraged that Arsenio Hall would allow this individual who has not denounced these comments go on his show and provide a forum for that rage and hatred.
That's hate. That's bitterness. That's venom.
One of America's most controversial leaders, Minister Louis Farrakhan, will come face-to-face with Arsenio. Everyone will be talking about this one.
Arsenio Hall says in a statement, "As always, I feel a strong responsibility to not only use my late-night arena for entertainment, but also as a vehicle to open dialogue as we strive for peace and harmony in America." Paramount Domestic Television, which distributes the program, adds that the Arsenio Hall show always has provided a forum for a wide spectrum of viewpoints, including those that may be controversial. Mr. Hall is continuing this well-established talk show tradition. Protesters say if Arsenio wants to bridge gaps between communities, inviting a man who they say hates them is not the way to do it. There are no plans to change the lineup, though. Farrakhan is expected on Friday. Pat, David.
All right, thank you, Frank.
Great. For the Reverend Louis Farrakhan, just the idea of that kind of a show prompted a lot of sound and fury, and up front tonight, reporter Carrie Pfeffer has already seen the show and talked to some of the people who hoped that that would actually never even air.
That's right, David. Anytime Louis Farrakhan goes anywhere, there's often controversy, but tonight it was perhaps even a step further. There was sound and fury outside the Arsenio Hall show tonight, but inside, quiet listening as the Nation of Islam leader spoke without interruption. It was just what Louis Farrakhan's supporters had hoped for, and just what his critics had feared.
There's nothing else to do but say, ladies and gentlemen, the leader of the Nation of Islam, Minister Louis Farrakhan.
If you expected the dog pound, the whoop-whoop of the usual Arsenio Hall show, you would be very surprised. It was nearly the entire hour set aside for Louis Farrakhan.
I've never had this many notes for an interview.
But before all of this could happen, it was a scene outside.
What do we want? Farrakhan!
Louis Farrakhan was given a national platform upset some. Having Farrakhan on an entertainment show like Arsenio Hall seemed to be at the heart of many complaints.
That legitimizes this man. It makes this man look good. And why would we want to make him look good? Arsenio Hall doesn't want to make the Grand Dragon of the KKK look good. He wouldn't give him a schmoozy 20 minutes on his program.
Whether this strengthens Farrakhan's efforts or not, he gets nearly 50 minutes of national TV time, perhaps the widest for him he has ever received on mainstream TV. And one other factor that cannot be ignored in all of this, the Arsenio Hall show has not been faring well in the ratings recently since David Letterman has been making a strong showing during the late night hours. Arsenio Hall says the show is not for ratings, but the questions come up, especially since David Letterman has been getting so much attention lately, especially with the Olympics and all that sort of
And unfortunately, we're not able to hear from anybody or talk to people about the program or what Farrakhan had to say. Hasn't aired yet in Los Angeles, so we don't know. Right. But controversial to say the least.
Exactly. Having watched it tonight as it came down earlier when it was fed for East Coast stations, I can tell you that some of the critics are going to be angry because Arsenio Hall took a stand of basically letting Louis Farrakhan have his say instead of, it wasn't a Ted Koppel kind of interruption sort of interview form.
Didn't grill him.
No,
questions.
Not at all.
Thanks a lot, Karen. A lot more debate to come over Louis Farrakhan's appearance on the Arsenio show. What do you think at home? Does he have the right of free speech, or is it wrong to give him this kind of a forum? Get ready for an emotional crosstalk. That's coming up tonight. They say that show shouldn't have aired at all. When we come back, we'll be joined by two men who strongly disagree on that topic. Crosstalk coming up next. Khan made a controversial television appearance. He was a guest on the Arsenio Hall show. And two people who strongly disagree on this issue are with us right now. Phil Blazer is the publisher of International Jewish News, and he thinks Arsenio was wrong to invite Farrakhan at all. And Dr. Earl Ofari Hutchinson is an author, and he says this is an issue of free speech, and he thinks that Arsenio was right to do what he did. Mr. Blazer, why doesn't Arsenio have the right to invite Farrakhan on at all?
Well, I don't think the issue is right. If you take the constitutional right, obviously Arsenio Hall has the right to have Farrakhan on the show. The question really is the responsibility in broadcasting. Should he have invited Farrakhan on the show? And that I think is wrong, because this was the wrong forum to have Farrakhan speak on. If it was a news interview, if it was Ed Bradley at CBS 60 Minutes interviewing Farrakhan or yourself, it's a different story. But this is an entertainment program in which Farrakhan should not have been afforded the opportunity of a full 50 minutes.
Dr. Hutchinson, would you rather see Farrakhan with Ed Bradley, or would you rather see him with Arsenio Hall?
I think both. I think Farrakhan has, in fact, been on a number of news programs where he has been grilled. I think he has been put on the spot. I think his views have been examined. But I think also it is a right. I don't think Arsenio Hall or anybody else has any right to tell him he can't have Farrakhan on there. I think we have to be realistic about it. Yeah, it's an entertainment show, but so is Donahue, so is Oprah, so is Geraldo. I have set up and I've had to suffer through Klansmen, I've had to suffer through Nazis, I've had to suffer through Aryan Nation people, big-time right-wing racist terrorists who've actually killed people, maimed people, serious injuries to people. Yet and still, with that, even with my point of view, even though I abhor everything they represent and I think they are the most hateful people around, still, I don't have the right to tell Donahue, Oprah, or Geraldo they can't come on there. I think it's absurd to say that. They do have the right, and at the same time, I defend the right for those to go out there, picket, challenge, and dispute those views. But to say they cannot be on there, I think is wrong.
Mr. Blazer, what is your take on that?
Well, I mean, I think that there's an issue here of how the black community, black leadership, African-American leadership has approached this issue. I think it's time for them to speak out against the hate that Reverend Farrakhan has spewed across the airwaves and in the printed word. We as members of the Jewish community have always been involved in civil rights, and I think we're getting to a point now where we're getting frustrated that we're being attacked, that we're being called bloodsuckers, that we're being called in such negative terms that it's almost disgusting. And I think what you saw in your clip here on the news already tonight, seeing Arsenio Hall grab and embrace Louis Farrakhan, I think is the epitome of repulsion. Again, it's one thing to have the right to have someone speak in one's forum. It's another to have the responsibility to choose who should be on the program. I think it's wrong for Farrakhan. I think it's wrong for a Nazi or a Ku Klux Klan member to be on a program.
Dr. Hutchinson, is Louis Farrakhan or is the Nation of Islam too extreme in your view?
Well, it's not a question of that. Let me put it this way. I think that many African Americans have many different points of view. I think there has been criticism of the Nation of Islam, and I think among African Americans, I always say this, personally, and those that I know have a duty and obligation to speak out wherever we see it against anti-Semitism. Okay. I've always said on the other side, by the same token, Jews have a duty to speak out against racism. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Fair people would agree on that. As for Louis Farrakhan, I think that's a separate issue there. He does have the right to his point of view, whether we like it or not, whether we agree with him or not. He does have a constituency, and he has a right to be heard.
All right, very quickly, Dr. Hutchinson and Mr. Blazer as well. If you take a show like a Jay Leno on The Tonight Show, and they put David Duke out there and really gave him close to an hour of time, free time really, to go and express his views, would you oppose that in any way, Dr. Hutchinson?
No, I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why. Not too long ago, I saw 3 white knights of the Ku Klux Klan on Geraldo. They had not only an hour, they had over an hour to go on and on and on. They gave their point of view.
All right.
I disagree completely, but I didn't say they don't have the right to be on there, even though I abhor everything they stand for.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hutchinson. Real quickly, Mr. Blazer, would you oppose that?
Oh, I would oppose Arsenio Hall having Farrakhan or a Nazi or a Ku Klux Klan member, and I would say that Geraldo Rivera was wrong in the case you pointed. I think these are the wrong platforms to have these type of racist. Farrakhan's a racist. The other examples are racist.
That's all we have time for tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Blazer, Dr. Hutchinson. Thank you for joining us on Crosstalk.
That's hate. That's bitterness. That's venom.
Fascinating interview. Thank you, Barbara.
Fascinating man.
Minister Louis Farrakhan, the controversial leader of the Nation of Islam. Many people are thrilled that I'm having him here tonight. Others are furious with me. But as the Public Enemy lyric goes, I gotta do what I gotta do. I hope something positive comes out of the next hour.
It's time.
Author Pearl Cleage, is that how you say her name? She wrote me a personal letter recently, and she said the only real defeat is when we stop talking to and stop listening to each other. I've said a prayer, and there's nothing else to do but say, ladies and gentlemen, the leader of the Nation of Islam, Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's only an hour show, so I figure we'll get right down to it. Why do you think there has been so much resistance to me having you on the show? I've even, not just white people, I've had black people tell me, what you need to do is get sick on Wednesday. True story. Get sick on Wednesday and cancel Thursday, Friday. Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Unfortunately, millions and millions of people on this earth are deprived of that particular truth of which Jesus spoke. And the great fear of those who hold our people in captivity is that our people will come into that particular truth that will make us a free people, justified and equal before God and man. If I were on the Donahue Show, as I have been invited again to Donahue, I've been invited by Barbara Walters and Forrest Sawyer, Connie Chung, and Tom Brokaw and Katie Couric and Mike Wallace. And how about Springer? Oprah and Montel? No. But the point is, Arsenio, that as long as I'm on a show where they think I will be seriously opposed, it's all right. But you, as my brother, would allow me to stand here or sit here and, as they think, give me a free ride or a Valentine show, then their fear is that nobody will oppose me, and as a result, truth will get out and people might be made free. Journalists have also accused me of doing this show for ratings. It's deeper than that, and you better act somebody. I'll be right back with more Minister Louis Farrakhan. If I am a righteous person, and that I'm trying to be, I can never hate or dislike a person because of their faith. All Muslims believe in Abraham. All Muslims believe in Moses and all of the prophets that came to Israel and the scriptures that they brought. And all Jews who follow those scriptures are our brothers in faith. The Quran does not tell us that Jews who believe in God and the last day will meet anything other than salvation. So to call me a Hitler, I ask myself why. It is because God has blessed me with oratorical skill. And God has blessed me to be able to move the masses of our people as no other black person in recent times has done. And those who have oppressed us are so frightened that we will move our people to take vengeance against them for the evils that they have poured and continue to pour on our heads. While the reverse is true, we have been blessed through our suffering to become an exceedingly great people potentially. And it is my assignment, my mission as a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to raise black people first and foremost up from the grave of ignorance and mental death. And so when I look at Time magazine and see my picture on the cover, and then these words, ministry of rage, I ask myself, what is a minister? A minister is a servant. The preposition of denotes possession. So here's a servant who is possessed of what? Violent anger and fury. Yes, I, like you, am angry over the condition that our people live under. I'm angry at oppression. I'm angry at exploitation. I'm angry at the incessant tricks that are being used to deprive our people of justice. But I could never transform human life with rage, with hate, or with bitterness. But those whom God blesses me to teach, I bring them out of the prisons and I clean them up from drugs and alcohol. I teach our women the dignity of themselves as women and take them from a low life and encourage them to live the dignified life of a righteous woman. We put people together who were ignorant and make them lovers of knowledge. And then we unite our people and pool our resources to do things constructive for ourselves because we're tired of laying at the foot of white people, begging them to do for us what we can unite and do for ourselves. So my ministry is not a ministry of rage, but it is a ministry of love. And the problem is that we are teaching black people to love themselves. But look at what has happened. You brought me here to your show. And what happened, Arsenio? You incited so much rage, so much venom, so much hatred that now they don't want your show to show in the marketplace that it has shown. They've threatened you that they will take you off of the air and ruin your career. Farrakhan didn't do that. That's hate. That's bitterness. That's venom.
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough. We'll take a commercial. We'll come right back with Minister Louis Farrakhan. Wow.
News of the station.
I introduced you to one of the producers here, my partner in crime since the old days, Marla Kell Brown. She's Jewish and a friend of mine. Do you have any Jewish friends?
No. I don't have any Jewish friends, not because I don't seek Jewish friends, but my whole ministry has been to black people in the last near 40 years. And it's only in the last 10 years that I have come under fire, so to speak, as an anti-Semite, that I have been reaching out to the Anti-Defamation League and other Jewish rabbis to let's sit down and talk. And so on an occasion, several rabbis have visited my home and had dinner with me, and we've discussed very candidly the problems between blacks and Jews. And I have visited their home and had dinner. But I don't consider that friendship.
Right.
You know, we have a lot of acquaintances. When we talk about black-Jewish relationships, the average black person in the ghetto does not have any relationship with Jewish people.
Can I grab this?
Sure.
This book, The Secret Relationship, and this is yours. The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. I've seen you hold up this book during conversation. I found an interesting remark from a doctor who is black. His name is Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr., chairman of African American Studies at Harvard. He says this is the Bible of the new anti-Semitism. What's your response to that?
Oh, boy.
And I wish I had 2 hours
You
like
know,
Donahue.
a Bible should never be denigrated. The Word of God should never be denigrated. This book, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, is compiled by the Nation of Islam Research Department as an answer to the charge that Louis Farrakhan is anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic. I said that there were Jews who were involved in the slave trade. We have always heard that Arabs were involved, that Africans were involved, that white Europeans were involved in the slave trade, but we never knew much about Jewish involvement in the slave trade. In fact, there are many Jews themselves who do not know their involvement in the slave trade. So we researched. This is not a book written by us. This book is quotations from eminent Jewish rabbis, scholars, and historians. And we are only quoting what they say. So if it is anti-Semitic, then Jews themselves are the ones we are quoting. A respected Jewish rabbi said to me that this book is a great calumny against the Jewish people because it says that Jews were major in the slave trade, while he contended that Jews were only 2% of the slave trade. Now, I told the rabbi, since we quoted eminent Jewish scholars, rabbis, and historians, if he will go before the world and denounce every scholar that we have quoted as a liar, then I'll throw the book away. But this book says, and I'm quoting now, Jewish scholars, that the bulk of the slave trade in Brazil was in the hands of Jewish settlers. This was a Dr. Ira Friedman, who was a one-time president of the American Jewish Historical Society. Now, you know that in the Western Hemisphere, blacks in Brazil number more than blacks in America. And this same historical society said that 75% of the Jews in the South owned slaves, while only 36% of the Gentile whites owned slaves. Now, why are we saying this? What is this for? Slavery caused the total destruction of an entire people. We lost our names, our language, our history, our culture, our God, and then were turned inside out because of slavery. And the fact that we have black on black violence, black on black crime, and the murder of one another is directly related to self-hatred, which was instilled in us through slavery, and the American institutions have reinforced it. At some point in time, everyone that had a part in our destruction must be called upon to have a part in our redemption. We can't let our African brothers off the hook. They helped to sell us into slavery. We can't let Arabs off the hook. They made a profit from slavery. We can't let Gentile Europeans off the hook, but neither can we let Jews off of the hook who held our fathers as slaves. Nor can we let the government of America off, because the government of the United States of America has proved to be the worst enemy of black people. So now when it comes time for justice, this is not spoken out of hatred or out of bitterness, but reparations have to be given to black people, even as Jews received reparations from the onslaught of Nazi Germany. And now the Japanese are going to receive reparations for what America did by putting them in concentration camps. What's wrong with the children of slaves? We are here poor, ragged, hungry, naked, and out of doors. Reparations is what we want, and everyone that had a part in our destruction will have a part in paying reparations.
I'll be right back with more Louis Farrakhan.
I thought about you and this evening, early yesterday evening, because a member of the Martin cast, most of you know him from Saturday Night Live, Garrett Morris, was shot by a black man. And I've heard you, everybody talks about how you beat up on the white man, but you beat up on us more than you beat up on anybody. You know, you put us in check as often as you possibly can and tell us when we're acting like animals. And people love those quotes. What do we do about black on black crime?
To rebuke a person, to admonish or to correct a person does not mean hate. When someone will correct you, that is the greatest sign of their love for you. The scripture says, "He whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth much." These are our people. We cannot escape being identified with our own people. No matter how high you rise in the entertainment field, you cannot escape being identified with the least little brother in the hood. Michael Jackson is the greatest pop artist that the world has ever seen, and he is the most popular human being in the world. But Michael was treated like a slave on a plantation because of a charge that has yet to lead to a criminal charge. But here's a human being that had to be made to strip, forced in a judge's search order, that if he didn't strip, they had the right to be violent with him and force him to reveal his nakedness, that they may take pictures of him in that manner. That to me says that no matter how big Michael is, to those who look at us with our money, with our Mercedes-Benz, with our fine homes and our fine cars and our prominent positions in life, you're nothing but a nigger. And if you get out of your place, I will have to put you back in your place. Michael Jackson is an extremely wealthy man, but he's an extremely sensitive human being. And if you watch Michael, you can know that the essence of God is in that man. For if God's spirit was not in Michael, Michael could not touch the hearts of so many millions of people, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, all over the earth. That man has God in him. I can't argue whether he's guilty or not. I don't know that. But I know that the man is being mistreated. And I ask myself, why? Why would tabloid television pay thousands of dollars to people to come on television to say what they say about Michael? Why would they threaten you with the loss of your show? This is what they think, that we are slaves to wealth, to power, to position over principle. And some of us are. But I believe that Michael is becoming politically mature. And Michael wants to use his political maturity along with his wealth to aid his people. And because there are those in high places that may fear the direction that Michael is going, let's strip him of his wealth, strip him of his fame, make him an outcast, then throw him in the laps of his people again. And so, my brother, I appeal to all of our people. Don't be afraid. Challenge your fear and stand up like men and women. For it is not white people that are your worst enemies. It is ignorance and the fear of what they will do that is our worst enemy. So when you challenge fear, as Arsenio has done tonight, he has earned even the respect of those who disagreed with him because he's not just an entertainer, he's a man. He's a man with principle.
Take a quick one. I'll be right back. An hour goes like that. I just want you to get back in this remaining time to our people and how we treat each other.
We are the victims of ignorance and an oppressive system. There are more drugs in the black community today than ever before, and there are more guns in the black community than ever before. There was a time when black folk could not get a gun, but now black folk have guns, but not guns to shoot those who have destroyed us, but guns to destroy each other. Our work is to teach black people to love themselves. And you can't love what you don't know. So in Black History Month, all black people and all white people should get to know who we are. And when you know yourself, you'll fall in love with yourself. And when you fall in love with yourself, it'll be exceedingly difficult for any of us to do harm to ourselves. If we don't respect ourselves, who then will respect us? And if we don't love one another, who then can we expect to love us? So the burden is not on white people to change toward us. The burden is on us to change toward ourselves. And when we do that, we will force a change in them toward us. If I were on the Donahue show, as I have been invited again to Donahue, I've been invited by Barbara Walters and Forrest Sawyer, Connie Chung, and Tom Brokaw and Katie Couric and Mike Wallace. And
how about
Springer?
Oprah and Montel?
No. But the point is, Arsenio, that as long as I'm on a show where they think I will be seriously opposed, it's all right. But you, as my brother, would allow me to stand here or sit here and, as they think, give me a free ride or a Valentine show, then their fear is that nobody will oppose me, and as a result, truth will get out and people might be made free.
Fascinating interview. Thank you, Barbara.
Fascinating man.
If I were on the Donahue show, as I have been invited again to Donahue, I've been invited by Barbara Walters and Forrest Sawyer, Connie Chung, and Tom Brokaw and Katie Couric and Mike Wallace. And
how about
Springer?
Oprah and Montel?
No.
Tonight, Louis Farrakhan.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Say what you will, think what you will about Louis Farrakhan. The Million Man March, which took place here in Washington 1 year ago tomorrow, would not have happened without him. He conceived it. He was the driving force behind it. A lot to talk about, so let's begin. Louis Farrakhan joins me from our studios in New York. Do you sometimes think you're going to be assassinated or you're going to be killed?
I don't think that Almighty God will permit that of me. However, what a Muslim says in his prayers, my sacrifice, my life and my death is all for God. I am born and I must die at some time. I only pray that it will be in the service of truth and in the service of the cause of the liberation of our people.
Mr. Farrakhan, it's always too short when I have you on the program and too infrequent. I hope you'll come again soon. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll be back in a moment.